This is the Sideline Slice, presented by Valentino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Huskers. Here's your host, Jessica Coody, and Husker Radio Network analyst, Jeremiah Sirles.
Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of the Sideline Slice presented by Valentino's Pizza. We have managed to track down the big dog. He's been the world traveler. He's this time of year more in an airplane or a car than he is at home or in a place. And so he's able to hop on here and record a podcast, but it's not just the big dog, Jeremiah Sirles. Also, Kyle Crooks is going to join us
it's the bigger
for
dog.
This episode.
It's the bigger dog, and it's about time that I'm allowed on this podcast. You know, somebody's got to set Sirles straight. I know It hasn't been a great year for me pick-wise, and he's already one-up me in the first year. But now that I'm in the octagon of the Sideline Slice, now it's really time to get after it.
All right, for those of you that follow along on Sports Nightly, we have a weekly pick segment, and we've done it the last, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Sirles was giving Kyle a little bit of a hard time, and they were battling it out at the end. Sirles ended up almost getting into second place, but I think the interns actually finished second behind Josh. But so he actually requested Kyle's presence to be able to let him have it a little bit here. So Sirles, you now have the floor after Kyle had that little introduction there.
I'll say it's great to see both of you. It's fantastic.
It's not good to see you. But
it's fantastic to see your smiling faces. I know that I usually disappear like a cloud of dust once football season ends. Then I reappear again sometime in the middle of spring ball. But Kyle, I just want to say, it's rookie year. It's okay. I see players take their biggest jumps from year one to year two. If you're willing to put the work in the off season. Right, that's what it really comes down to, Kyle. Are you willing to wake up at 6 a.m. when it's minus 22 and your little Florida blood is like, what is happening?
No, he's not. I'm telling you, he will not do that.
Go outside and study the picks and put yourself in uncomfortable situations to make yourself comfortable when the stuff gets serious, Kyle? That's the question you need to wake up and ask yourself every day. And if you can do that, Kyle, I believe that you can be a competitor next year in the pick segment.
You know what I say, and I made this quote: history is a great predictor of the future. And what I know is 2 years ago, Josh Hilkeman was in last place. And this year he was wearing a crown, and he laughed at all of us, including you, Sirles, including you, Jess. I think it's more about the dominance of a Josh Hilkeman.
Josh can come for me when he's a two-time champ.
Oh.
The blueprint has been set for how to win this. You start in last place, you work your way up, and you make a great turnaround. Some people might say I'm actually the Kurt Signetti of picks.
Hey, I'm just glad Tom Allen got his national title, man. I've been an Indiana fan for years, and people who follow the segment know that I died on the hill for Tom Allen. I'm just glad he was able to. He set the groundwork for Signetti to come in there and really finish the job.
Sirles had a affinity for Indiana for a long time because they recruited him, and he couldn't quite get over that. But
yeah, I couldn't.
In addition to that, we did actually have mentioned this a few times in the chaos of what has been the last month since. Really, I mean, the transfer portal opened, but let's face it, it was crazy in December when the season ended. And so you have a unique perspective in that you obviously went through it as a player in negotiations on the NFL level for multiple years. And then now you are on the agent side of things. And we've talked a lot about, there are good agents and you try to do things the right way. And then there's some people that are maybe not they don't have these players' best interests at heart. But we've heard it from the coaching staff, the staff here at Nebraska. You've said it too. So we wanted to kind of dive into that and maybe pick your brain a little bit. And it was Kyle's idea. So Kyle, that's really why Kyle is here.
That's right. So. I want to learn more about why you take all these phone calls and all these crazy situations, because look, we see more and more reporting about how wacky this has all gotten. The Darian Mensah stuff, the Damon Williams stuff, even in hoops when you have guys that were playing in the G League and there's 10-day restraining orders and now they're playing on Alabama's men's basketball team and trying to be a part of an NCAA tournament run. From your perspective, how out of whack has this whole thing gotten, and how tough is it to keep it on the tracks as an agent?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with this. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think the current model of, and I'm just going to stay in my lane of football transfer portal, is truly sustainable. Because when you have this war of They're not employees, right? And athletes are not employees of the university. And that is written very clearly in every NIL contract that I've ever read and ever will sign. Not employees. But then you want to have them on the university side. You want to kind of have them under rules and regulations that treat them similar to employees, because that's really the only way this whole thing coincides and works. In the middle is the gray area in which we are living right now. And until we can truly get to a place where I believe that they are employees and there's a CBA, collective bargained agreement between unionized players and universities, we're going to constantly live in this gray area. And that's a hard place to live in when you're trying to build a football program. When you're trying to do anything, it's gray areas are not good to live in, especially when you're talking about millions of dollars being paid to players, boosters, universities. Like, this is such a large scale that in where we're at now in the wacky world in which we've turned into, it's not going to get fixed, in my opinion, until we get to that point. It's actually only going to get worse.
How do we get there? I mean, who do you look to start trying to figure this thing out? You know, we go back to signing day. Pat Stewart had told us, you know, if you look at the NFL and the model of the NFL, like, we know what the highest paid left tackle is in the NFL. But for this, where we're at in college, they might be telling you one thing, but you actually don't know. And so I think that's where the transparency part is making it challenging too. And then it's just year to year. I mean, you can't even lock guys up for multi-years at this point. It's just a year-to-year basis. But how does that get corrected? And what do you feel like maybe could be taken from the way the NFL does it that could maybe help this thing out at the college level?
I mean, like I talked about, the first thing is making them employees, right? Because when you make them employees, you can hold them to multi-year contracts and you can hold them to actual penalties, and there's buyouts and those type of things. With that being said, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And so, you know, the way you have to look at this and the way you have to view this is it's free agency every single year. And so the way that you can do a quick fix, in my opinion, with keeping most of the structure of how it's not employees NIL, is you change the timeline. You don't have 3 months worth of work crammed in to 6 weeks, right? Because you're talking about as soon as the season is ending, you're now going, okay, first thing I have to do in November, December, if I'm GM, if I'm Pat Stewart, retention, right? I have to retain the players on my team every single year. It's not like, oh, I need to retain these 10 players that are going to be free agents this year, their contract's up. No, I need to re-sign every single player on my team. Okay, once I can try and work through that and get through that, then I need to start knowing how much money do I have for acquisition. Okay, then I need to know who's in the portal. We don't even know who's in the portal until January 2nd. So how am I supposed to know who I want to scout and try and go acquire? Oh, meanwhile, if we made a bowl game, don't forget, got to prep for that. Maybe need to hire some new coaches while we're doing that too. And then here's free agency, 2 weeks, figure it out. That this timeline needs to change. And so my ideal world timeline wise, transfer portal's not until May, right? Maybe April. And you have all of January, February, March for your retention. You can have the conversations of who you want to retain, who you think is going to move on, get that piece put together. You allow players to publicly declare that they're going to enter the portal in late March, right? Maybe at the beginning of March. So now the rest of the league can now know who's going to be in the portal. They can start scouting that. You can start scouting that, who you want to look at, who you want to target. Boom. April 1st opens. May 1st opens. Portals open all of May. You open the portal all of May because that's also when the school's out. So that requires the academic people that say, oh, we got to do academics. Like, okay, cool. Well, the semester ends, bang. Now the portal is open. Then you have your full acquisition. You have your ability to go in, sign everyone you need to do. You get your full roster for the next season in June 1. Then you have OTAs. You don't have spring ball. You have OTAs in the summertime in June and July, and you have a little bit of time off, and then you roll right into August in the camp. You treat it like an NFL schedule. You do away with spring ball in March. You just treat that as lifting, conditioning, and the whole bit, and you don't start any game preparation or that type of thing until you have your full squad in June.
You know, it's almost echoing exactly what Troy Dannon has said, and Matt Rule, I think, is right. It's right in the same area of what you're talking in terms of timeline. I think Coach Rule said the same thing. Why not treat the athletic calendar with football the same as we treat the academic calendar? You've done one good thing, and that's limit one portal session now where you have it in January as opposed to one in January and then one in the spring. So you've taken steps in the right direction. And I think what Troy has said in the past is eventually, Sirles, that we're going to need some sort of government or Congress intervention to really make change. It's hard to make change in college athletics now because conference commissioners can't agree on how many playoff teams we want, or some of the issues. All the issues the conferences can't agree. So how do we do something as big or as macro as changing a calendar or a collective bargaining agreement? I think that's where it starts, right? The SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the ACC, they can't agree on anything. So I think that's where it's got to start. These conference commissioners have to get together and have some sort of uniformity into how we get these things done.
I actually think it goes bigger than that. I think it goes into you do outright with all the conference people right now, you clear them all out and you basically start a new conference. And you take the top 60 Power 4 schools and you break them up regionally and you treat it like the NFL. And you've got 60 of them and you just go straight regional. It's going to be similar to the conferences that you have now. But the thing is you have to make a clear, concise cap for all of those schools, right? And then you have the next tier down, the G5 levels. They have 60 schools in it as well. And then what happens is you can have the bottom 10 and the top 10 switch out every year, right? Hey, this school, like you can soccer. Go down, but you treat it like the soccer
relegation.
Program.
Yeah.
I think you have relegation, and that way you make it equal. Because the reason no one's going to agree, Kyle, if I'm Texas Tech, I love operating in the fact that I've got billionaires in my pocket and I don't have to truly operate under this $20 million cap that everyone has to operate under, right? Why would I want to agree to spend the same amount of money as Purdue? Why would I do that? I don't need to do that. If I'm Oregon and I'm Phil Knight, I'm like, pee on all the peasants. Who cares, right? We can do whatever we want. So until you get an actual regulated body to come in and say, no, just like the NFL, collectively bargained cap, revenue split, right? Revenue split. Because right now, I mean, the NFL has about a 47% revenue split that goes to the players. I bet you it's close to like 10 to 15% that goes to the college athletes right now. That needs to bump that number up, make it more true revenue split, put the whole thing together. But yeah, it's going to take a governing body to come in. And I don't think it's the NCAA, unfortunately, and clean house with everything and say, here's the standard. And that's good. But again, none of that happens, Kyle, until you unionize the players.
Yeah, which I don't see ever happening in the near future.
Yeah. How challenging is it, Sirles? Because, you know, and it feels like we don't have this issue again at the NFL level, but you've got these parents, these family members, these friends of families that coming in and claiming to be agents or let me be your representatives. You know, and you're certified, you went through, took the test, all of that, and you also have NFL guys that you represent. But how challenging is that now when you're having these conversations with these players that these basically guys, there are people coming in saying, hey, we can get you this, but that's not the reality. And you have a better pulse of what actually can be offered and where they can find a good spot. And it's kind of, you're thinking the overall picture where some people are just guaranteeing money. And obviously, so a lot of times that speaks. What's the challenge of that right now with a lot of these conversations being had with some people that maybe aren't as understanding of what the landscape is?
Yeah, the biggest issue, Jess, is you both sitting right there today, tomorrow could slap NIL agent on your chest and go represent people. There's nothing stopping. There's no barrier to entry to calling yourself an NIL agent, right? And so if that's the case, why wouldn't everyone want to be an NIL agent, right? They look at the chance, go, you mean I can make 5 to 12% of what that guy's making by just negotiating his deal? Yeah, I'm an uncle. I'm a cousin. I sell cars. I can do this. That's not the case at all. In fact, I almost would make the argument, Jess, you need an agent more in college football right now than you do the NFL. Because the way things are going in college football right now, the NFL, there's a standardized agreement. You know what you're getting. There's stuff you have to look out for, language you need to put in there, but it's all overseen by the NFL and the NFLPA, right? So it can't be this outrageous thing. The more I got into this space this year, and I talked to schools and I looked at contracts from every single Power 4 conference this year. They're all different, every single one of them. There's no standardized agreement. And so every single school is trying to see, what can I put in there? Where can I lean on this? How can I put liquidated damages in here? How can I put penalties in here? How can I put things in here that mom, dad, brother, uncle aren't going to catch? They're just going to look at the number. And I'll tell you, everyone that I talk to, the first thing I ask, I go, hey, I need to see your contract for the structure of it. Before the number's going to be what the number's going to be. We'll negotiate that later. Structure comes first. And that's when the GMs will go, you're a real agent. Like, you actually know what you're looking for, right? Instead of so many people are calling going, what's the number? What's the number? It's like, yeah, the number's important, but if that number's 1 million, but in the contract language, if he decides to declare for the bowl game early, you can take 50% of that back. Technically, the contract's worth $0, right? So structure is so important with these things because these guys have no idea what they're signing most of the time.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a great point, Sirles, right? Because you have these guys that aren't sanctioned to be agents, and you could trick guys out of money. And that's why this is truly the wild, wild west that we have now in college athletics. And then there's the other side of it is you have Agent A that isn't sanctioned to be an agent saying, hey, go into the quote unquote open market and, we'll find a deal for you. And then the reality is there's no deal out there. And when the musical chairs and the music ends on the musical chairs, there's no place to sit for some of these guys that now all of a sudden do not have a roster spot, do not have a school. How often are we seeing that now where guys, the thousands of players that are entering the transfer portal now don't have any spot to play?
Not just that, I had a client this year at a Big 12 school that he was a freshman last year, got hurt during training camp, had surgery, was on basically medical IR this year, right? Just rehabbing. Whole staff gets fired, GM gets fired. He comes in, new GM comes in. I talk to the GM. He says, no, we like your guy. We want to develop him. We want to keep him. Okay, great, cool. He's on scholarship. A week into the portal, he calls me and my client says, hey, they just cut me. They just told me my scholarship is not going to be renewed and I need to enter the portal. And so now you're going, okay, so players can be cut, right? Not just, hey, we are not going to renew your scholarship. This guy did nothing wrong besides get hurt. He picked that school over other Power 4 schools because he wanted to go play there. And now if a new staff can come in and say, well, we think we can upgrade from this player, we're just going to release you. That becomes a bigger issue now too. And I promise you, there's a lot more of those type of stories that are happening across college football right now versus you just see the guy that says, I'm declaring to enter for the transfer portal. Well, we don't know what led to that point. Is he truly going? And everyone just assumes, oh, he's scared of competition. He doesn't want to compete. He's chasing the bag. Or did someone have a conversation with him inside the building that said, hey, we're going to upgrade from you. Sorry, your scholarship's not getting renewed. That's happening real life time in college football right now. And so I see it from the player's perspective of, hey, I got to protect myself, but I also feel for the universities. I do. There's a part of me that I'd be dumb to not say that I can understand where the university is coming from, where they're spending millions and they're putting time and energy and effort into building and developing players just to have them move on for 2 years because another school offered $200,000 more. And so that's where this is the gray area that I'm talking about. Where do you meet in the middle? And where do you find that ability to say, we want to grow, develop, and work with you here, but also understand that it's a free market every single year because we don't have rules and regulations. And that's where everyone gets really frustrated. And it's really hard to see it from the business perspective because it is a true 1-year contract every single year.
I think a lot of people are frustrated, annoyed, don't like the way that this is going.
Well, it's change, right, Jess? It's change. No one likes change.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't want, especially here in Nebraska, right? When we had a tradition and how we've won in the past and how things have been and bringing the 2-star in and putting him looking huge. And then he goes and becomes a Remington Award winner. Like, those days of college football are over. And the faster we accept that as a Husker Nation and as college football fans, the faster we'll be able to move on and understand that this is now what college football is going to be forevermore.
Okay, so then I was going to say, so for those that are doom and gloom on where it is now, you're still the biggest fan of the sport and this game, of this
100%.
program. I mean, there's still a lot of positive things because we've had a lot of negative talk here over the last 20 minutes.
Think about how mad people were when people started playing out of the shotgun formation. What is this? The forward pass? How dare we, right? Football's an ever evolving game, both on and off the field. Bye, Kyle. Right. And so you go and you look at it and you go, okay, this is, yes, it's scary. It's new. It's totally out of control because the NCAA decided to roll it out with no guidelines and hope that the best would happen, fully knowing that the worst was always what was going to end up being. It's going to take some time to course correct. But like I said, I'm not the only one in this industry that understands this is not a sustainable business model. You can't have free agency every single year where your player is resetting the market every single year. And look at like the quarterback market in the NFL, right? Patrick Mahomes what was it, 6 years ago, 5 years ago? No, 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it might be, signed that $500 million contract, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, $500 million. Like, oh, who could ever? He's like the 11th I'd pay his quarterback right now, right? The market always resets. But what happens is you sign those guys for 3, 4, 5 years. And so then the next year, the market resets with the next guy. But when you're not under contract, the market resets every year. And so if you signed a big deal last year and you're like, hey, I signed for $1 million to make it easy. Well, the next guy in the portal cycle next year is probably going to be like 1.5. Well, if you're looking at that guy going, well, he's a free agent. He's hitting 1.5. I deserve 1.5. That's where it just starts spiraling completely.
And teams will pay it for a quarterback.
People pay for a quarterback, a tackle, a D tackle, and an edge rusher. Jess, those 4 positions will get paid every single year. They're hard to find. And so if that's the case and you're going to reset that market every single year, you're going to be talking about guys making $2.5 million soon, $3.5 million. And then you go, hold on, where am I supposed to find all of this money? And that's where it's going to start to really come crashing down in about 2.5 years would be my guess, when every single player on your roster needs to be making $1 million or you're going to lose it.
So let's go full circle. And we mentioned the Damon Williams, the Darian Mensah deals. They actually signed to something, right? Like those are actual signed, ink is dry contracts that they just try to get up and walk away from. Now we've seen the school's responses and suing the athlete and say, well, you're not going anywhere. But I think Darian Mensah, did he commit to Miami yesterday? So I think there's some sort of settlement there with him. But how do the athletes just think that they could sign something and then just walk away from it? How did we get to that point?
Bad advice. Honestly, I think it's bad advice. I think it's lack of education. So much of my job is not just to negotiate the best terms of the deal for my client, but also educate him what's in that contract. Hey, buddy, you see this thing called a confidentiality clause? That means if you go tell your boys how much you're making, they can take your money back. What? Right? Like, hey, you see here about these penalties on if you transfer and when you publicly declare if you're going to transfer, they can stop your funding. In some cases, there's contracts that I read that literally had in there that if you were to publicly declare for the transfer portal before the last game of the year, you owed back 25% of the total value of your contract, Kyle. Like there's things in these contracts that if you're just looking at the number from a player's perspective and you just say, well, I'm supposed to make $1 million. It's like, unless you do X, Y, Z, and then that could really look like 500,000. That could look like 400,000. And so now what's happening is these players that are signing these deals, they're now having to write things in them. And I've seen a recent one of like, hey, if you transfer within the first 90 days, it's going to be a 200% penalty. That, in my opinion, is not legal. First of all, I don't think that actually hold up in court if you try to actually find some way to sue them for money that hasn't already been paid to them. But it's a way for a university to try and not allow this type of thing to happen. But yes, you sign a document now, you're a big boy. You have to understand there's ramifications if you try and get out of that document, right? Yes, you're not an employee, but you are signing a legal document that is writing your rights away to the university. And if you think you can just up and leave without a penalty, that's not how contracts work. That's not how documents work. And I feel really bad for the Washington quarterback. I think he probably got really bad advice. His agent's from Wasserman, who's an NFL agency who has dropped him since. But also, Kyle, his agent represented the head coach of Washington. Conflict of interest there as well, right? And so then you say, okay, he gets a new agent. Then someone new probably came to him and was like, hey, I know this quarterback is going to pay you 6.5. You should bounce. Cool, I'm ready to go. Didn't consult with the old agent who signed his contract going, dude, if you leave, you know how much money you're going to have to owe Washington? Like, you know how much this is going to be? And now you've put yourself in a terrible position with your teammates, with the university to try and have to put all that back together. So all of it comes down to just, you got to make sure you have good advice and professional people in your corner.
home you just can't get anywhere else. What started with a treasured family recipe has become a Nebraska tradition for over 68 years. Proud to be the official pizza of the Huskers. Okay, so while we got you, we haven't had a chance to chat, but the transfer portal has, I think, for the most part, closed, obviously, now, and Nebraska has their class. And I think when we talked, there was just the 2 offensive linemen that had added. Overall, what do you think about the guys that Nebraska were able to bring in? And I think they feel like they got some guys in some areas that they really needed to address.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jess, you and I talked plenty of this times where it's like, hey, if we go sign 10 receivers again, I'm jumping off South Stadium, right? And we took care of what we needed to take care of, the trenches, right? Offensive line was a big piece that we said, hey, not just starters, depth pieces. We need pieces that we can bring in because everyone seems to get dinged up at one point in time during the year. We need to bring in experienced guys, more athletic guys that can come in and start right away, contribute, guys that can come in and develop. I thought that Coach Coach Pat Stewart, and then Coach Wade have done a really nice job of really putting a big piece of their free agency budget on the offensive line and going out and getting some proven players.
Now, defensive line, Corey Brown, he's coming in and he's going to take over that side. I think a lot of fans, if you just read the tea leaves, that there's more that they wanted there. I think there's guys, too, that we forget about that are in the mix. A Malcolm Simpson, a Tyson Terry. I think the hope is they're close to adding to the 26 class with a 4-star defensive lineman that maybe can make an automatic impact. Confidence maybe in the development of the guys like a Cade Petschak who could come in, Williams Winery who maybe fell off towards the back half of the season. Where do you see new defensive line coach, some of the guys that they have coming back, few guys that they brought in? That was the biggest area of concern. So what do you see there?
Yeah, I think everyone will understand not having a guy solidified defensive line coach at the beginning of the portal probably hurt us on getting some of those top-notch guys. But obviously we want to be selective. We want to make sure our D coordinator had his guy that he could bring in. He had trust in. They believed in the system, and so bringing in some of those guys, it shows that there's some trust in developing some of those younger talent. I think, look at Williams Winery. He's a guy that I'm really expecting to take a big jump this year. He needs to turn into that ability to pass rush and create pressure on his own without without having to blitz. Right. I think some of the frustration with getting the San Diego State DC, but then not being able to close on a couple of those edge rushers hurt us too, and so I think a lot of this is going to come down to, can this coach develop? Can this guy take what's in this room and squeeze the blood out of the stone and get what we need from these guys? Because I think that's going to be a big piece of what we have to do to be successful in defensive line this year, because we didn't bring in 3 automatic plug and play all conference type performers. And that's okay. Right. Sometimes you just can't get on all those guys. And the D tackle market was really, really tough this year. And I know that from experience. It was hard. I mean, those guys went for a lot of money, guys that really weren't even that good. And so when you're trying to make sure you don't overspend just because it's a need, that's a big piece of the puzzle too. So I think, looking at this defensive line group, there's a lot of youth. There's a lot of guys that we're looking to take the next steps. And this spring ball is going to be hugely important for all those dudes.
That being said, how much do you feel like that group will be benefited by what they did at the linebacker spot? I mean, you were a big John Bullock guy, Luke Reimer guy. We've seen kind of that guy that could clean up a lot of the messes. They obviously addressed the linebacker spot too and got some guys, some proven guys that they can add to the mix of a couple of really young guys that they have in that room too.
Yeah, I think the linebacker room should be a strength of the defense this year. The hard part for me, Jess, is me, I love to be able to see something before I put a stamp on whether I can agree with it or not.
You don't even know their names till they put on the jersey, right?
Until too deep, unless you're in the too deep, don't talk to me, right? But also at the same time, like, I don't know. We got a little bit of a taste in Utah of what this defense is going to be, but at the same time, I need to see it. Like, I need to be able to see with my eyes and go, okay, what's this going to look like? What's the implementation on this? How is he going to go against big sets, small sets, wide sets? Like, I need to see how he's going to bring, this defense coordinator is going to bring his pieces to the Husker puzzle, and then go, okay, I see the plan here. I see the vision on where we're going to go, and also be able to look and go, ooh, there's the hole, Right? Hey, maybe we need the big outside long backer that can run and be rangy, or hey, we need that nose guard that's going to eat up the double teams like Nash did. Like, I'll be able to see that, but right now I'm looking at this going, a lot of new pieces, a lot of new puzzles, whole new scheme. I am so curious to see what this defense is going to look like.
And the schedule that came out.
Oh gosh, don't. That's terrible.
Indiana, Oregon, back to back. I'm not looking at it right now, but you don't have a whole lot of home games after like the middle of October. So when you see that schedule as a staff and players, you want to go up against the best. That's sort of the thought. But you're going to face 3 playoff teams, right? The defending national champions. At least you have them at home. When you
at least the glue guy's gone, Kyle. The strongest glue that's ever been made.
Yes,
at least he's gone.
How when you look at the schedule, initial thoughts? I mean, it's going to be a lot harder of a run here for Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a true baptism by fire for some of these young cats. I mean, some of these young guys that we're going to expect to take big jumps and we're going to expect to be contributors next year. It's going to be quick into the fire, and fire, it can galvanize, but it can also melt you. And so I think we're going to have to figure out where this team's going to be. One thing I know about Coach Rule, one thing I know about a lot of the people on the staff is they're going to coach these dudes hard and have them prepared. Now, when you look at roster by roster on some of those teams, when you can look at it, we are definitely not at the top of the Indianas, the Oregons, and that piece there. And that's okay. I'm going into next year fully understanding that there is some serious rebuild going on both sides of the football, right? And I know that we're all going to be like, well, it's year 4, right? Year 4, we should be competing for national titles. We should be moving there. It's like, in today's era of college football, very rarely is that happening. You are trying to reset and restructure. Last year, we had a favorable schedule. We had some pieces. Next year, we're trying to move on from a lot of those pieces. We're rebuilding the offensive line, brand new quarterback position. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so I'm going to be looking at us rebuilding in real time at the beginning part of next year. I think that we have a chance to be competitive in all of those games, but I just don't know, with trying to be a brand new quarterback, new coordinators, new system, the whole bit, what that's going to look like. It's going to be extremely challenging. There is no doubt about that. Do I think we can win 6+ games next year? Yes. Do I think we could win 5 games next year? Yes. It's going to be one of those things where you have to look at it, and it's going to be truly, what does this team look like week by week, because it's so many new faces, new pieces.
This is going to be one of the more intriguing springs, right? Because there are so much unknowns. We're looking at a new defense, the offensive line. I mean, it's going to be a quarterback battle. I mean, it's there's a lot of storylines that we haven't had as much of, I guess, in years past.
Yeah, and that's what's fun. Like, that's fun to me. And it's hard. It's when you want to go into a spring and be like, okay, we know who the quarterback is, we know who everything is, we know it's set. And then you look at that product and you're like, leaves a little be desired. Right? Versus this year, I think we're going in going, okay, let's see who showed up. See who took winter serious. Let's see what some of these portal guys can come in and contribute. And who's going to be the sleeper that just pops up that's like, holy crap, where'd you come from? And he's out there making all kinds of plays in spring. This is going to be one of the most up and down, all over the place spring balls that I can remember in recent history. And I'm super here for it.
I'm fascinated with Calandria. I know his turnover number has been high in his career, and his multiple stops. Was great at UNLV. My guy Dan Mullen set him straight, and he was really good at UNLV. Went to the Mountain West
Papa Dan
championship game. Everyone says,
Sirles, we saw him at dinner in Vegas.
Oh yeah, you can tell this story. You can tell this story.
Please tell me the story of Kyle. Dan, it's me.
No, Dan. So we're waiting with Ben, the 3 of us. And he walks up, and I think Kyle's back was to him. Anyway, somebody said, "Is that Dan Mullen?" And then Kyle turned around, and I think he recognized Kyle, because then when he was leaving the restaurant, he was looking at Kyle, but no, he didn't. I'm surprised.
You didn't go see him?
I told him you should go up and say hi.
I interviewed him a bunch, but I didn't think he would know who I was.
Hey, he recognized him.
It didn't end well with the Gators, so perhaps he tried to wipe all of it from his memory.
You're a memorable guy, Kyle. He remembers.
I am.
But you should have been like, dude, I picked the Gators all year. And UNLV.
Josh told me, he said, if you didn't pick Florida every week, you'd probably be in like second.
Yeah.
So
hey,
Josh,
again, rookie mistakes.
Listen,
no, you learn.
Sirles did it with Indiana his first year.
I did it with Indiana. I died on that hill. Jess has died on the hill with Oklahoma.
You were just a few years early on Indiana then, because you would have been perfect this year. But Calandria, I think
back to Calandria.
To bring it, what's the excitement level just in terms of how different the offense is going to look? Like, he's a true dual threat guy. How, a 3rd and 6, he could run and get you 8 yards. I'm not necessarily, especially when TJ was banged up. He could do that, but he was definitely banged up in the bowl game. Dylan was a different type of quarterback. We all know that. But this presents, especially, it's another guy in the red zone that could find a way to get you 6 points with his legs. I think it's a fascinating deal if Calandria is indeed the guy.
Yeah, and, knowing from what I would guess is he didn't come here to be the backup. Right, he came here to be the guy, and so I think he's going to try and lead as the guy. And talk about a guy with a lot of experience. Obviously, he's bounced around and he can really go and move things along. My question is, can he win the locker room? Right, because so much of being the starting quarterback is being able to lead everybody else and being able to say, "Hey, behind me, let's go," and set yourself to that high level, that high standard. It's hard to do quickly, right? It's hard to do to walk into a new room where big shoes of Dylan Raiola, multi-year starter, face of the franchise, whatever you want to call it.
A locker room that loves TJ Lateef.
A locker room that loves TJ and come in and try and walk that fine line of, hey, I'm here to play and be the guy, and I want you guys to follow and lead with me, but I'm also not here to just like poo-poo on everybody else that's in this quarterback room. And that's something that he's going to have to figure out and manage as he goes through this thing. So much of it is you just have to play well. And you got to play your tail off and you got to earn the starting role, and players will follow the guy that they believe will give them the best chance to win. And so if you go into spring ball and you can prove to this offense and you can prove to this coaching staff, I am the best guy that's going to give us a chance to win going through this schedule, everyone will fall behind you. If it's not where you think it needs to be, if Lateef's playing better, if there's up and down days, that's when it can start to get a little sticky. Don't forget to throw Danny Kaelin into this mix.
Yep, I was just about to mention him. Yeah,
what's he gonna look like? He knows
also
a lot
guy
of this
that's loved in the
there.
locker room already.
So there's just a lot of dynamics that go a lot further than on-field play for the quarterback position that can say who's the best quarterback for the Huskers. It might not be the most talented. It might not be the guy that you think can make the plays with his legs and do his things. It might be who can lead the offense the best, who can run Dana Holgerson's offense the most efficiently, who can do the things that we're asking him to do and not turn the football over. That's all going to be things that we'll have to get answered through training camp and really through spring ball here as we go before we know what the final picture truly looks like come September.
Well, I see you officially lost the Kansas City Swifty banner.
It's done. It's done. It was only through the championship weekend. It is officially done. No more Swifty Sirles for this guy.
No more Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and no more Bills.
I'm actually going. I'm going to the Super Bowl.
I
will be. Yep. I'm going. I got 3 clients on Seattle. I mean, if you got 3 clients playing in the Super Bowl, you got to go.
So is it
what a story for Seattle?
Oh my gosh,
Sam Darnold. I
love Sam.
I was in the metro area for his deal with the Jets, and it was oof. The infamous line of him saying, "I'm seeing ghosts" in Monday Night Football, playing that live on television, and to see where he's at now, playing the game he did in the NFC Championship game. But to my question, are those tickets comped, or did you buy tickets for the Super Bowl?
Unfortunately, they are not comped. Those are. I get them I at least get to buy them from my client at face value. So that is still not awesome, but it's going to be fun to get to go. This will be my second Super Bowl. So I went to the one that was in Minnesota in the 2018-2017 season Super Bowl, just because we lived there and we went to the NFC Championship. And so we had a house the whole bit. And so we actually went to that one, which was really cool. So getting to go to a second Super Bowl here is pretty fun. Not super stoked about the halftime show, so I'll probably go get a popcorn. But overall, I'm super excited for my guys. And I think Seattle has a really good chance of going out and winning this thing. Also, I don't think we have a Husker in the Super Bowl this year.
I think there's a couple of ties, but not actual
I think it's been a while since we haven't had a Husker in the Super Bowl, right? And so I don't think there's a Husker on either one of these teams, unfortunately.
So you're saying you want us to root for Seattle for you and your guys?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
100%.
I was already going for Seattle. I think
I love Sam
Seattle.
Darnold's story
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I love Sam Darnold. I mean, talk about a guy that's been teed up multiple times to be like, take your victory lap. Right. They're like, dude, everyone hated you and thought you sucked. And now you're here. And he's like, don't care. Could care less. I'm like, oh, what a guy. I'd be taking my victory lap 10 times if I was him.
Well, have fun. Thanks for letting Kyle join us.
He doesn't
For
have
sure.
a choice.
Oh, Kyle.
Sirles,
how
you know
foolish
what?
You think.
Well, I'm already working. I've been on the treadmill looking up picks for next year and trends and analytics, and I have the blueprint from the guy over my shoulder here, Josh.
Maybe the biggest thing is don't go all in on Florida from the start.
Maybe you do
John
next
Summerall.
year.
I've seen some videos there in Gainesville. That dude is an animal.
There you go. Convince
He's going to be a
yourself
stud, by
otherwise,
the way.
Kyle.
He's going to be a stud.
Well, we'll circle back again with you. Again, we'll talk when we get closer to Pro Day and all that and spring football, which is earlier this year.
Yep.
So we'll
talk in a week.
Yeah.
Spring football.
2 weeks, we'll be chatting. But glad we were able to catch up with you. So safe travels. Have fun at the Super Bowl.
Hey, absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Go Big Red.
All right, again, that is Jeremiah Sirles, Kyle Crooks, special guest here today. I'm Jessica Coody. This has been the Sideline Slice presented by Valentino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Huskers.
Go Big Red.
Valentino's treasured Italian family recipes have been passed down for generations and still locally owned and operated. Valentino's proudly serving Nebraskans in Memorial Stadium for over 30 years.